Recording in progress.
Order the regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Happy New Year, everyone. Yay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garnes?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter?
Here.
Councilmember Orr?
Here.
Councilmember Wilson?
Here.
Councilmember Woodall?
Excused. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. This is a time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. There any? No. Kyle, no hands raised?
No.
Yes, we did receive one public comment, and it says, "Dear City Council, there's a large number of community members who are wondering who, where, and why Gladys, the wild turkey of Rio Dell, has been relocated. Please let us know at the next City Council meeting your findings on the matter of Gladys. Thank you."
And I have to say, I was upset too. I don't know if I, as a citizen, this is my public comment. I was very, very upset. Wild turkey. I'm not put it back in the wild, back on the field where it was. But I just thought there were a lot of unhappy citizens. It's rare that you would think that an image of the city could be tarnished by removing a turkey. But I think the city took a hit on this one. So I would put that out there. It's turkey.
You want to go get her back?
I thought about like, I should go get that turkey, just release it back, and I'd be responsible, and that'd be the problem.
We're not on the record.
All right. Are there any other public comments? Yep. Okay, then I would we'll close public presentations and open the consent calendar for any item to be removed. Council members? Anyone in the public? Any hands raised? Anyone else? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 4-0. We will now move on to staff communications. There is no staff communication in the agenda because, you know, the holiday, but if there's any questions from council, if any council questions for staff? Any email? No? Any hand raised? No? Did you want to say anything?
Yeah. No, we're happy to, staff's happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, thanks. And seeing no questions, we will now move on to special call items. Approve the appointment of an ad hoc committee to review the facade improvement program for the city of Rio Dell. Page 29 in our packets. City manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor Garnes and members of the council. So as the council will recall, the city's economic development plan and the immediate action plan component of the development plan included a facade improvement program as a high priority. So round number 1 of the program has now expired. So there were some mural projects associated with that, and then also the final project completed recently with Mingo's that was completed. So that rounds out the initial program for the facade improvement program. And when we initiated this, the council set a termination date with the idea that we would go back over round one and then make any modifications as necessary and decide whether that was something that we wanted to either continue, modify, or cancel. So we're recommending that this council appoint 2 members to an ad hoc committee to go ahead and review the facade improvement program, work with staff, and then develop some recommendations and a future item for the full city council regarding this matter.
Thank you, City Manager. Does anyone want to volunteer for that?
I was on the round one. I'll do it. I think it was me and Julie first time.
Okay. I'm happy to do it. I don't care.
We just meet as needed or something comes up.
Yeah, I think this would be a 1 or 2 meeting ad hoc, just, you know, either the ad hoc wants to dive in deep on the recommendations or, you know, or it's a 1 or 2 meeting kind of thing and then return to the council.
No, I'm going to do it, if that's what you mean.
Okay. Right, and then the mayor, Councilmember Wilson and Councilmember Carter are the ad hoc committee. If everyone's agreeable to that.
And we'll work through that.
Yeah. Right. So we will move to discussion on the school crossing guard structure located at Wildwood Avenue and Center, page 30 in our package. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So back on October 5th of 2021, the city council discussed an agenda item related to the red crossing guard box located on the corner of Wildwood and Center Streets, including a discussion of potential removal. That discussion concluded with the council referral of the item over to the Beautification, Walkability, and Pride Committee, with the idea of potentially converting it to a library or a community open library or other such facility. At the request of the mayor, this item has been placed on the agenda. And again, this is an old crossing guard facility that has since fell into disuse. There's been the installation of some lighting at the intersection to facilitate children crossing the intersection there. And so it's fallen into disuse, and the ownership of the box is not entirely clear even to this day as to who takes responsibility for it. However, it is in the city's right of way. And so I know that there has been some additional discussion over the ensuing past couple of years about potentially just moving forward with the box's removal, for which the city can do that. But this is ultimately a decision of the city council, and so we're at the request of the mayor bringing this back for placement on the agenda.
Thank you, City Manager. The issue as I see it, and well, I'll just stick with just myself, but the issue as I see it is it has gotten to a point where there's graffiti inside, there's trash inside. It was fixed. There was a deterioration on some parts of it that were fixed. But what really has occurred in the last year or so is it has just become a graffiti spot and a trash spot. And it doesn't really, it's not pretty graffiti. It's not good graffiti like art. It's just painted lines inside and it looks bad. And my understanding is that it does not belong to the city. It was explained to me the last time this came up that it was not ours to remove. I now am taking the position it is not ours to destroy, but it is within our purview to make the decision to remove it because it has now become a blight. And so that was why I asked for it to be put on the agenda. And that's the end of that. I mean, that's it. Anything I need to say. So I will ask for comment from the council members. Anything?
I've always been kind of on the fence about it, you know, I mean, it's cute, but when it came up the last time, I was like, it's also just, you know, a garbage can too. So unless like we can make it something like now, I would say just.
What are you said it was referred to the beautification committee, or what was, did they come out with anything on this?
Not really, I think for, when I was on it, we talked about the library, but then that became,
There's one also right out front of the
Yeah.
Dollar Tree, it's like right there, right already. Yeah, and we were worried about it being, because most of these little public library things are little boxes, they're not like, you can't like go into like a building. So the concern is that even if we made it something really cool, it would still get tagged up, peed on, you know, and garbage dumped in there.
and we'd have to actually install a door. You can't put books and have the environment.
You have to maintain it.
Yeah,
And
and
then
it
it would
was
actually become our total responsibility.
kind of an undertaking that,
That's, I look at it more to the idea that it would have to be, if it was to be purchased, it would have to be something that, but it would have to be maintained,
Mhm.
and it doesn't seem viable. And nothing has come out of anybody coming forward saying, gee, why don't we do this with it?
Right.
I would say rather than it's gonna get more decayed and end up somebody getting hurt, but, or the abuse that it would take, I would see it going away. And then we're gonna get in trouble.
We're gonna get in trouble either way, anyway, so. Exactly.
But if we, let it be.
Thank you. Councilmember Orr?
Just seeing what happens there in the mornings when we drive by, taking our kids to school and stuff, I'm taking care of it. It's turning into a hangout for people that you don't want near the school, to be honest. And I love the ideas of the free libraries, but I've seen things taken out of there and packets of money left there for whoever left the initial package. So I don't think we need one of those on the main drag either, so.
All right. Well, thank you. Public comment?
Hi, Sharon Wolf, 3 Painter Street. So since I was involved in how it came to be in the first place, I figured I'd stand up and say something. And I did submit it in writing the last time this came up, just so it's a part of the city's history. When we were fighting the city back originally years ago, when we moved in here, the city's then contractor, Joe Bucola, brought in a bunch of materials to work on our house that we hadn't approved. Long story short, fought with them, demanded they get this stuff off of our property. They did, the city did. That's what built the P box. And you nailed it the last time, it's the P box. So that's what built that. That's why it suddenly appeared. That's why there's no records for it. It was built by these people that fought us on fixing our foundation, which explains the construction that was used in it, which is pathetic. So yes, it should go. It's kind of funny how it was there. They put it there because we had young kids at the time. So that's why it went there. But anyway, remove the thing. You know, we don't need a P box there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Are there any hands raised? No. Emails? No. Okay, then, I would ask for a motion to direct staff to remove the Little Red House.
so
The Century Box. There's a motion, is there a second? We have a motion, did someone second?
You need a second? I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Now we move on to the approved budget amendment. Steel River Trails Project, page 31 in our packets. City Manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. We do have Luke Hallinan here from the city's engineering firm, PhD, to kind of help explain this particular change to the project. The project that we are going to be discussing is the Eel River Trail down that is proposed for the end of Edwards Drive, connecting over to Davis Street. And that was a grant awarded through Clean California to the city of Rio Dell. And without going into too much more detail, and because I'm doing a little bit of double duty here of trying to place this up on the screen, we do have a PowerPoint from Luke. So if you would be so kind to give me a moment while I try to establish the PowerPoint, that would be great. Thanks, Kyle, for the introduction. Thanks, Mayor and the City Council for having me here today. So this presentation is made mostly a bunch of slides to provide an overview of the project status so far, what we scoped originally, some of the findings we found during the right-of-way review, project status, and the next steps to get the project bid and constructed. So the quick overview is GHD helped the city through various different grant applications, and the most recent is a Clean California local grant program. And we put together, from that, once the grant was awarded, we put together a scope and fee to do the design of the project. And part of the design, we can go to the next slide. The design originally included, you can't really see all the text, but I can give you an overview, is that from the Davis Street connection, there was proposed a set of stairs. The trails generally would align along the upper riparian area, up slope area along the trail, and then on the south end, it would end at, Edwards Drive. It would be a class 1 connectivity trail, which means it's going to be ADA compliant from start to end, and is originally intended to occur along the historic Edwards Drive right-of-way that occurred between there. Historically, there was a road there, and the trail was intended to use the same alignment as the road. At the initiation of the design project, we were able to eliminate the stairs there, and there was originally proposed to be a small bridge. We were able to eliminate those through design changes of better uses of design practices. And since the trail was anticipated to be along the upper slope area, generally we assume gravel or a gradual slope, so we didn't need to include any structures, including stairs or ramps. And with that, the trail was intended to be on grade, basically just with minor earthwork, so it didn't require significant soils or geotechnical investigation. And so that's the design approach that we went into going into the trail. Go to the next slide. So once we started the right-of-way review for the historic Edwards Drive right-of-way, we found, if you go to the next, click again. So we found that the actual existing historic road was further down the slope than what was originally intended, or originally believed by the city and other staff during the grant writing phase. And then click again. Then what we did is we worked with the project surveyor, and the surveyor found that the actual recorded right-of-way for this historic road easement, or historic road right-of-way, occurred down in the river bar. This was based on a Shields deed from the 1890s, and that's what all the property parcel maps and title reports refer to when they refer to this easement on the edge of the two private parcels along the northern edge of the project. And then the last thing is in our findings through title report research, we've identified that the two northern parcels, which are private parcels, have a 50-foot wide easement defined on the eastern edge of their property boundary. But really, if that title report only refers to the
Fieldsby is the actual location. Next slide. So what we did is we assisted the city, and the city worked with the private landowners to come to an agreement to use the existing already recorded 50-foot wide easement for use. It's currently defined as for use of the road, and the city negotiated with the landowners to be able to define it as for use as a trail as well. So with this, you can see that the western edge, where the original trail was intended to be, is different. It's about 100 to 150 feet further than the trail as currently realigned, because we had to move the trail to a further down slope due to the right-of-way issues. And then with this revised trail alignment, that basically means that we have to redo some of the environmental studies and some of the field work, as well as do some redesign to adjust for the trail in this new location. Next slide. So far we're at 60% design phase of this project. That means we prepared the overall design, which you can see across the bottom there, as well as the cost estimate for the project. And then for this, what our environmental team did is they were able to capture a wider area. They had to go back and redo some of the environmental studies to get this out due to schedule constraints. They had to go ahead and do some of the work in advance and to complete the design in its new location so that we could actually get the permits out by this year at this point, early this year, to be able to construct in the summer. So the initial study and mitigated negative declaration has been publicly circulated at this point, and we anticipate being able to finalize and adopt it at the next city council. So with that, what we have, the overall status of the project is that we designed the overall trail, but what's in red on the figure there is the ADA ramp. So what the redesign meant is that the trail is now further down slope, about 10 or 11 feet further down slope, and required a structure, concrete ramp structure, to be able to bring the trail, the ADA compliant connectivity trail, from a lower elevation to an upper elevation. But since it's a short section with a large grade change, it requires kind of like a switchback style ramp. That's shown here in concept. And then with that, so the original work didn't include sufficient geotechnical investigations. We need to do additional soils investigations to be able to design this ramps to the standard of care needed for that type of work, where previously the soils didn't investigate to that level. So with this change in the realignment, it would require GHD to work on an augmented scope of work to cover these out of scope items, which includes additional environmental field work and revised studies, the geotechnical investigations, and then design that concrete ADA ramp, as well as there'd be additional construction management that we anticipate a small portion of additional work, because that wasn't understood to need a construction management inspection for this type of structure. And with this, it's anticipated that the additional funding will be needed for this type of structure. It wasn't originally anticipated in the grant request. Next slide. So what the city, we've worked with the city and consulted with the project funders of the Clean California Local Grant Program to determine if they have additional funds. We've notified them of the potential budget issues here with this additional ramp costs and additional design work. And they basically, without saying it, they said that they don't have additional funds. There's no flexibility in that approach, but what they did comment on is that the funds that we have currently received are flexible in that they can reallocate dollars from different phases of the project to be able to do, complete the project as needed. And with this, they also agreed to phase the project. So generally, the project description and the scope and project outcomes for the grant application was a connectivity trail from Edwards Drive to Davis Street, which means ADA compliant from point A to point B. And this, they acknowledge that there may be a challenge in that the bidding market may not allow to design or award the complete project due to higher costs than we had originally anticipated. So what they did is they're allowing the project to be phased in that if the on-grade trail portion could be bid as a base bid item, as in like that's the only item, or that's the item that's guaranteed to be built during this phase, and then we would do as an additive item, we would itemize that ADA ramp portion so that if bids are low enough during that time, we could award the entire project, but if they're too high and the cost of the ramp is too high, then we would remove that piece of work, set it aside, and then bid it as a shovel-ready project for the next time we secure additional funding, the city secures additional funding. And with this is we would have to move funds between different phases to be able to proceed with the next phase of design. So with this, the purpose of this presentation is that we've identified that we, GHG, will need additional dollars to be able to proceed with the engineering design, which includes environmental studies and construction management phase. And to do this, it would require reallocating dollars from the construction phase into the engineering phase. And to proceed with this, what we would do is we would work with the city to prepare a project description and submit that to Clean California Local Grant Program to execute a scope change with the funders. And then, as I mentioned, we'd have to reallocate $170,000 from the construction phase to the engineering phase. And with that, so then once we have, if that is approved, then we would work to finalize the engineering design and the environmental studies and complete those by February, where we would be able to bid the project in February so that project could go out to construction in the summer of 2024. And some of the completion deadlines is that the project has to be completed for the construction phase has to be completed by the end of 2024, and the closeout phase of the grant documentation phase is complete by the end or mid 2025. And then a follow-on next step is that if the project costs, or if the bids come in such that we can't award this ADA ramp as part of the project, then we would work with the city to pursue additional sources of funding to secure that piece as a shovel-ready project to immediately go into the next phase of construction. That is kind of the overview.
Thank you, Luke. And so I'm gonna stop the chair here and bring it back. So it sounds a little bit complicated, but it's relatively straightforward. There's essentially two factors that were outside of the city's control in this matter. One was that the actual easement and our ability to construct the trail was not at the location, the original road location. And so that caused some adjustments to be made, again, bringing the elevation of the trail down at a critical juncture where it needs to be brought back up. The trail, we did explore the option of just simply having an exception for the rule that with Clean California specifically, the entire trail has to be ADA. So one of the ways around it is by scoping it. And so all the dollars, state dollars that are being used towards the project are still constructing an ADA facility that is accessible for 100% of the constructed length. So from Edwards Drive, there would be ADA parking and ADA access to the trail. The trail itself would be ADA, but it would terminate if we end up having to phase it, which I think is likely, and also leave a potential for us to find additional funding sources to do the completion of the project. So the second concern that we have is just the inflationary environment. Some of these cost estimates originally for this project were developed in 2019, 2020, and so there has been a lot of just general changes. And so while the project, when it was submitted originally, included, I believe, a 20 or 30% contingency. So there was like a good amount of wiggle room in terms of getting this project moving forward. I think we've reached that point where in order for us to have a viable project, we'll have to most likely be split. And that's unfortunate, but it is just the situation that we're in, and that the city doesn't have just a tremendous amount of financial resources to commit city dollars towards the project. But that we need to be prepared to still deliver a project, within what the bids come back as. And so this is at this point in time the best option to move forward and still roll a project forward. And I probably shouldn't say this, but the likelihood is that the contractor is going to have to access the site from Davis Street, which means a temporary gravel, roadway extended down there. So there will be, in addition to, I believe, the existing steps would remain. There would still be a gravel trail there. It would not be ADA, but that's incidental to the actual construction, what the state dollars were used for. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you for coming for the presentation. We appreciate it. So at the end of the constructed part, is there going to be room for a turnabout? Is that what's going to make it legal? I mean, as far as ADA?
I think that we had consulted with a city attorney about this. Generally, it would keep being out and back. It's not, we don't currently have in the design, haven't included in the design yet, anything like, kind of like a turnaround or a terminus, because the way the trail has to be designed, has to sweep up to catch, increasing grade. So there's no easy spot at present to do it that way. We could look into it if that's was the city's preference as far as.
Well, I think with this approval, that would be something we'd be looking at as to where would the appropriate ADA turnaround spot be. We just don't know that at this time it includes a partial, turn and trying to ramp up the elevation of the final condition of the trail. But I think what's important here is that. The council's recognized that, and I think staff agrees that, we need to make sure that if, somebody in a wheelchair gets towards the end of the trail, that they have the ability to turn around safely, even though it is not our desired outcome, but we can certainly do that with, I think, relative ease.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm fine with the phasing. I think let's just put a shovel in the ground. How likely do you, I know that's an opinion, do you think we are to get a different funding source for phase 2? I know it's shovel ready, which is good.
Yeah, I think what makes it attractive is that the design will be done. It is something that is potentially attractive to other funding agencies. But I think this could be a multi-year process of trying to come up with an additional grant source. It may be something that is relatively quick. I just don't know. I think one of the resource constraints that we're facing now as a state that is projecting to be some 60 some odd billion dollars in the red. And so if you recall that this Clean California grant program kind of appeared out of nowhere during a period of time where the state was unexpectedly flushed with cash during the pandemic. And so so I think but again, with a shovel-ready design, that puts it on the menu for the city to be able to refer it out for potential funding immediately as they come up. This was one of the challenges with the Clean California program was really having those lists of shelf-ready stuff that we can pull off the shelf and say, hey, here's a great project. here's our cost estimates, let's put it forward. So we'll have that at the end of the day. Whether the funding on the other end is available for it, I just don't know.
And then, would GHD be designing the second half so that we do have, and is that part of the extra cost?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, awesome. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore,
No questions.
Councilmember Wilson.
So we already have a trail, at the end of the day was to just go straight down to the river. Is that still functional?
I believe so, yes.
Is the, now we're over to, away from the RV park from River's Edge, is that correct? Is there any conflict with this, with them? And I being down there where this is if this works right, it does what it's designed to do, it would attract traffic. I would assume it would attract people down there, and there would be people wanting to go across, go down through the Davis Park and all over to Edwards. You want about your business, or the other way around. Is there going to be a conflict with River's Edge? Because if you go down there and stop, I mean, from personal experience, you have somebody in your face really quick.
Yeah.
30 seconds. So, are we gonna get into that? That's my question.
We're well within our legal rights for the trail alignment, and that's hence really we're kind of stuck in this box of between the landowners of where the city can exactly place the trail. And it is unfortunately just at that elevation change where we have to, have this, ADA accessible ramp system. As far as, whether that will be received well or not by the property managers there, I don't know. But it would seem like that facility would also be a great asset to the tenants at the RV park as well to access the river from multiple points or to get to downtown via Edwards.
The rivers, the park itself is not one of the landowners that we're having to deal with.
No.
So we're able to get the easements to go across for the River's Edge Trail, where we have a different property line than we thought we did, or do we have those easements?
Well, originally there was a trail that was used by folks that crossed into the River's Edge across their private property. So the solution several years ago was to use the city's right of way, construct the trail, the stairs, and have the trail go out the right of way so people could still access it and not enter into a conflict with the River's Edge RV park owner. And so that was the compromise back then to expeditiously reestablish pedestrian access to the river without getting into a legal, conflict of trying to prove past historical use.
No, that maybe I worded it wrong, but if I understand the way this comes down here now, you go down to Davis, and then so you're away from the park, the RV park, and then you come across and you go to this trail that goes across the Edwards. And if I understood the GHG fellow here, that's not what our original easement was.
Yeah, so originally where the trail was to be placed had nothing to do with the RV park. It had to do with property owners on the other side of the street. And so that came to a beneficial conclusion where they agreed with the alignment, the new alignment. But because it's moved further back to the east, the elevation drop is more significant.
Are these other owners granting us easement to do this?
Yes.
Okay, that's I guess my main question. So we worry about the River's Edge. I personally don't think you're done with that conversation. And has anyone approached River's Edge and talked to them about that we're for doing this? Like, we're gonna do this thing?
Yeah, I think there have been multiple conversations over the years, in particular, regarding the original river access.
Well, I know that, and I've been through that
Yeah.
a bunch, but I mean, this is a whole new situation. Have they been approached on this conversation?
I believe so. We've had multiple conversations, with them over this and other, issues, down at the RV park, but this has been kind of a settled project for quite some time now.
So they're aware of it, and they haven't presented a disagreement with the city doing this. They put up an objection to us.
If it were up to the owner of the RV park, there would be no public access whatsoever to the river anywhere near any of their property.
I'm aware of that.
So the city council gave direction as one of the council's highest priorities over multiple years to improve river access. And one of the ideas was actually originally to reestablish the road itself through the right of way down to the river, in a couple different locations, over by CC Market, over at the end of Painter Street. In this particular case, again, trying to be amenable to the property owner's desire to not have, anything interact with their private property. This was the solution. So, without involving attorneys, without getting into a big, long, kerfuffle over a trail, this is seen as the most economic situation to achieve the council's objective, and to give a benefit to the broader community, including the residents of the RV park.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the community? Absolutely. Can you come forward, please? Introduce yourself. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Suzanne Mees, landowner here in Rio Dell. I guess one of the things that caught me immediately, and I didn't hear the beginning of the presentation, but was the $170,000 change order going to the engineering firm. If I were in your shoes, I'd be looking at that, but maybe I missed it. So
You missed a little bit of it.
did you go over it?
Yeah, there was a change that had to occur because of ADA. And because of that, then elevation soil studies had to be done, different things had to be done than were originally done because of the change.
Yeah.
Did you?
That is correct. Yeah, there's engineering, additionally, geotechnical investigation, soil investigation that need to be performed, the additional environmental study, field work, and reports that needed to be performed and updated, and as well as additional engineering design that needs to be completed.
Right.
As well as there's includes a portion of construction management. So there's with this, if the ramp, which wasn't included in the original design or original scope, if the ramp is built this year under the construction, if the bids come in low, and so that we can award phase 1 and 2, then there is additional construction management fee in there. So it's a composite of fees through various different paths just to get this revised design completed.
I work in land use permitting, I understand still some time.
Yeah.
That's all.
Are there any hands raised? Anyone else questions? Are there any hands raised? Are there any emails? Okay. Then I would ask for a motion to authorize the staff to execute the amendments.
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second
We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 4-0.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, make a comment.
Oh, absolutely.
This is so that the whole process is ADA. So if you go on this connection between Davis and Edwards, it'll all be ADA.
That is correct. Currently, we're proposing phase project, phase 1 and phase 2.
How long we pull it off financially, it'll all be ADA,
That is correct.
For the benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to go on record, that this was, I think this is a great beautification project. And I think it's something good that, because there is not a lot of river access for people to do this. I think the city will have some challenges with the other owners on the left side. Or I guess north, as you call the northern side, but I think we seem to be in agreement as a council, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is something that we want to move forward. We have for some time, and so by this approving this additional expenditure and doing this, the council is saying we're into this to do this for the city. Is that correct?
Well, I think that that's correct in just one little thing is, I don't think it's an increase. I think it's a reallocation. It's, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's adjusting the funds, not,
Okay,
it's not additional funds.
that's fine.
It's adjusting them, and I know what somebody else might not think it's fine, so we need to be clear that we're adjusting.
That's
Yeah.
not really my point is that to move this forward, in order to do it as the state, to comply with the state, to do this for the beautification, it's not everybody gets to be happy in this.
Right, right.
And so, but the council's okay with that.
I think we are 100%. I think we are 100% in. That's my take.
Thank you for your diligence. Do it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council.
And we will now move to the award the bid for the Rio Dell Dog Park project and approve associated budget adjustments, page 44 in our packets. City manager.
The council should have received this handout, two-page handout, final bid results, bid opening from the 29th. And then also a short description of the financial proposal here. So the dog park project, as the council may recall, was bidded out approximately 6 months ago originally. The project had kind of evolved and included originally a half basketball court. Included a number of additional amenities, and while we felt strongly that we could come in close on budget for that, again, the bids that came back were far in excess of the approximately $180,000 to $190,000 available for the project. So staff met with our ad hoc committee and also began really scaling back the project to the fundamental original concept of a dog park in the community, a place where folks could take their pets, also be informed of rules and regulations and resources available to pet owners for their animals. Obviously knowing that there's some significant issues with loose animals in the city of Rio Dell. And so in scaling back the project, the bid was put forward again without the half basketball court. However, the design of the facility would allow the half basketball court to be installed at a future date. Again, a kind of phasing of the project for down the road, given the financial constraints available for us. Again, just a scaled down version of this project brought back 6 bids from licensed contractors. The lowest bid being, when accounting for the additive bid items in the schedule, was $198,600, as you'll see on your first page of this sheet. So on page 2, based upon that bid submission, adding a 10% contingency, the total project would be just north of $218,000 for the installation. And based upon this, the fact that we have a very tight timeline in order to implement the facility before the funds are clawed back by the state of California, we are recommending that the council move forward with appropriating an additional $40,000 in the ARPA funding available to the city to get the project moving and rolling forward. So again, the total cost of the project would be $218,460. Of that, just shy of $178,000 would be the Park Capital grant program for the state of California, and then the remainder would be just shy of $41,000 in ARPA funding, just to help complete and push the project over the edge. And in the end, if there are no significant change orders, the budget could be, the actual ending cost of the project could be more around the $200,000 area. So with that, given the time constraints, I'm concerned about putting it back out for bid and expecting a different result. I think we basically did pare it down to the most minimum project that we could. And so I don't think we're going to see any better prices than we do today. And so staff's recommendation would be to go ahead and move forward to award the bid to Mobley Construction, and to direct your staff to work on and develop a contract with the contractor at this point in time. And we will bring it back at your next regularly scheduled meeting on the 16th for just the formal adoption of the budget adjustment and the agreement with the contractor on consent. But we want to come forward as soon as possible to get the direction from the council again, just because of the time constraints. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you may have. And certainly Kevin also has some additional answers or anything else Kevin wants to add to what I've said.
I think you summed it up very well.
Okay. So with that, I'll go ahead and return it back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions per se. I do first want to thank staff on, because, looking at the trail and the dog park, and these are all things that have been going on for so many years, and they're just these wonderful, amazing projects, and we get so excited about them. But it's staff that has to deal with the changes in the economy and the changes in inflation and phasing it and this and that. And so I know that it's a lot of work. So whereas I can sit in ad hoc and say, yeah, do that, great. Bye. I'm really happy that you guys have been able to stick this out. I think parks are great, human parks, dog parks, all the parks. And it is just things like in the community we live in, we gotta face stuff sometimes. And that's just gonna have to be okay, because there is no other way to get these projects done. And they're wonderful projects. I fully support it. Let's do it. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson?
Yeah, to go along with Councilman Carter's comments is, I think the way that this is moving with inflation and the way prices have changed, and I appreciate what staff has done to get this. I mean, the first time was a lot, and but it's a start that we can phase into as we do by getting this. We've got something functional that people can actually go down and take their dogs to and use. And we can build on that. So, yeah, this is a great step forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Orr?
I agree with both council members that, the initial plan was grand and had a human side and a pet side, but just to get something to make Rio Dell more homey, I guess is a good way of putting it, and less pass through to the next place. So.
Thank you, and I agree with all things that were said up here, so I will just reach out to the public and see are there any questions or comments? Are there any hands raised? Are there any emails? And then I would ask for a motion to authorize staff to award the bid and to enter into contract talks or getting it done.
I so move for staff to keep doing what they're.
Okay, for a second. We have a motion and a second. Motion carried. Motion carried. I went to yes. It was no, I forgot. Motion carried for 40 of us reversed. Motion carries 4-0. And let's see, now to our final item on the agenda. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 401-2024, establishing residential rental housing inspection regulations in Title 8 as Chapter 8.40 of the Rio Dell Municipal Code Program. Page 45 in our packets. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I'm gonna, again, set up a PowerPoint, may take a moment to set up. But we do have a presentation from our Community Development Director, Mr. Caldwell, on this particular item. And so we will begin to share. And we should be good to go.
All right, Madam Mayor, members of council, thank you for being here. This is coming full circle. Back in 2011, when I was first hired here, we had a new city manager at the time. His name was Ron Hendrickson. He came to town, and first thing he noticed was a lot of substandard housing. He convinced the council at that time to basically proactively go out there and try to make the housing stock better. And with that, he recommended to the council that a housing director position be established, and that's how I actually come to work here for the city. The project was the program was to be funded by fees. Basically, it's supposed to be self-funding. The inspections themselves will be done on an annual basis, and basically be a full-time position. And that evolved over the time. There were no self-certification inspections allowed. We reached out to the Humboldt Association of Realtors, had a number of meetings with them. They showed up at the city council meeting and expressed concern, primarily due to the cost. And basically the cost of those who could least afford it. Of course, they were going to pass on the cost. And at that time, the cost we were estimating was going to be anywhere from $100 to $125 a unit. They also referenced the fact that existing local state regulations, we already had tools in toolbox to address these situations. At that time, the city did not have a full-time code enforcement officer like we do today. And after discussion with the council decided not to pursue it. Come 2023, of course, we had a couple of earthquakes at the end of 2022. We had a very big one, and then in January, we had an aftershock. And Cal OES inspectors came down to help us out with doing rapid assessment inspections. What they reported to city staff, and I believe to some of the council members, was they observed a large number, a significant number of substandard housing units in the city. We took this to the nuisance committee. The nuisance committee basically recommended that the city consider reestablishing or establishing that rental housing inspection program. We actually started work on that based on that direction. This was about the same time that Arcata was pursuing their rental housing inspection program. And they actually didn't have a lot of public outcry regarding theirs. And one of the reasons they didn't is based on their inspection schedule and the fact they were going to allow self-certifications. The city of Arcata, and we actually included this in our regulations, basically allow self-certifications and then one city inspection every 5 years. And then the city inspection properties would be done once every 3 years. And the reason they did this and the reason we're following the same model is to minimize costs. And the purpose really is to protect the tenants, landlords, neighbors, and the community. Those of you who've had rentals or lived in rentals, you've probably been on both sides of the fence. Whereas a renter, you probably need some items taken care of or repaired or maintained. And as a landlord, you probably come across a situation where your tenants have actually damaged your property. We've heard all sorts of horror stories. I've got one friend who actually had a property here in town. He actually had a number of rental properties, and he got to the point where he was not even renting the properties out anymore because of the damage that was being done. One property in particular over by the school, thought he had a great tenant. Everything was done, everything was paid on time, the yard looked really good. When they moved out, the garage was filled entirely with garbage. Cost him over $3,000 to dump all the garbage in the garage. He, of course, is fully supportive of this program that your council is considering right now. We have roughly 1,300 dwelling units in the city. Approximately 640 of those are rental units. As far as inspections are concerned, the Dell Fire Protection District, they are responsible for inspecting properties with more than 3 units. So it'd be like the Dell apartments, the terrace apartments, the Bluff Cottages, the Scatina Motel, the Grayland apartments. Any units with more than 3, they would be responsible for. So that would leave the city with about 465 units we'd be responsible for actually inspecting. Vacation dwelling units and those new units that are less than 5 years old would be exempt. Our plan is to initiate this over a 3-year period, which would average about 155 inspections per year, which would be roughly 2 to 3 inspections per week, based on that schedule there. Our recommendation is 2024 would basically be outreach and registration. We would inform the community on what's going on, encourage the landlords and property managers to register the properties. And then the initial inspections begin in January 2025. Of course, the first one would be based on complaints, and then we probably do it by neighborhoods. Similar to what the nuisance committee has, they've got a map that identifies various neighborhoods, the Avenue neighborhood, Edgewater North, Edgewater South, Riverside, Bellevue, Oval. And of course, that's in flux. We can modify that as we go along. We do allow for self-certification by the owner or the property manager. Self-certification has to be attested by the tenant. They actually have to sign the form. And there is an inspection form in your packet, and I believe it's on page 89. I think you're wrong there.
87.
87, thank you very much. And those items that are on the inspection checklist are all items that are on the books right now. It's either through the International Property Maintenance Code, the Uniform Housing Code, the Rio Dell Municipal Code, or the California Building Code. The fees, and that was the big killer last time. Again, our attempt here is to try to minimize the fees to encourage participation. Of course, they're based on staff's burden and hourly rates. The annual registration would be $15 a year. City inspections would be once every 3 years, that's $55. Over a 3-year cost for city inspected property, you're looking at a cost of $2.78 a month. For self-certification inspections, they would do those every year. We would have to do it one time every 5 years. So you're looking at the annual registration fee of $15 for 5 years is $75. The self-inspection fee for 4 of those 5 years would be $120. That takes you to $195. And then that city inspection, once every 5 years, would be $55. So that comes up to a total of $250, which would be $4.17 a month. Vacant properties, prior to the occupancy, the owner or the property manager has to conduct this inspection, have the new tenant acknowledge, agree with the findings of that inspection, and then a copy would be provided to the city where we would keep it on file. Again, going back to the inspection checklist, starting on page 87, the exterior address numbers are clearly visible from the street. Roof components shall be in good shape, not damaged or missing shingles. Exterior property shall be clean, safe, and sanitary. Property shall be maintained free from excess plant growth. We actually have a weed ordinance on the books right now, as does the National Property Maintenance Code. Inoperable or unregistered vehicles must be stored out of the yard or exterior. On top of that, our regulations require they be stored on an all-weather surface, whether it be gravel or concrete. Stairways, decks, porches, balconies should be in good condition, free from visible spectral effects, and fit for fall hazards. Exterior sidewalks and driveways must remain clear at all times and in a safe and sanitary condition. Luminaries, which are lights, and receptacles shall be protected from water exposure. Doors and hardware in good condition, locks shall tightly secure the door. Deadbolts are required on entry and exit doors. That's actually part of the building code requirement. Windows shall be free from leaks or cracks, screens present and damaged. Windows shall be easily openable and held in position by hardware, as opposed by a stick blocking the window. And that's so that people, in case there's an emergency, they can get out of there quickly. The exterior walls shall be free from holes, breaks, loose or rotting materials. And then basically the exterior shall be kept free from rodents and infestations. Accessory structures shall be maintained, structure sound and in good repair. And of course, there's going more regulations as well. Again, all these regulations are currently on the books. We're just checking to make sure they're complying with current regulations. As far as the interior, interior should be maintained in clean and sanitary condition. Again, stairs and walking surfaces shall be maintained. Handrails and guardrails should be in place and maintained as well. Property shall be clear of all infestations. Water supplies shall be installed, maintained, and capable of supplying all fixtures. Plumbing fixtures shall be properly installed and maintained in good working order. Water heating facilities shall be properly installed with approved relief valve, earthquake draft, and capable of providing hot water to every fixture. And the minimum hot water requirement in the building code is 110 degrees. Plumbing fixtures shall be properly installed and maintained in good working order. Heating facilities must be able to maintain a temperature of 65 degrees, 3 feet off the ground in all habitable rooms. You cannot have portable temporary heaters that are plugged into the walls. You have to have a fourth air unit, a mini split, a wall heater, something to that effect. Receptacles and switches properly installed and operable. One of the things that you see in a lot of, that I've seen in some rental properties is that the switch, the cover plates are broken or on the receptacles are broken. And of course, those are hazards. Kids or other folks can stick their fingers in, stick forks in there and get electrocuted. You cannot use extension or electrical cords or permanent wiring. Unrestricted path of travel from any point of the building to a public right of way. And this comes into play with orders. I actually conducted an inspection in town after the earthquake, and I basically had to jump over boxes to make my way through the house. And if there was an emergency, and this person, it was an older person, there was no way that person could have got out of their house if their house was starting to collapse or even if it was on fire. There's just so much clutter in the way between the bedroom, the living room, and the doorway. It was an eye-opener, to be honest with you. And then, of course, we make sure that the houses have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors if they do have gas-fired appliances. In regards to violations, hazardous violations, electrical smoke, carbon monoxide detectors, they have to be corrected within 2 working days. All other violations, they'll be corrected in time, in the time required by the director. If they're not paid within 15 days after the deadline, the city has the authority to abate and correct the violation. In regards to fines, if they're not made in the time frame, the owner or the tenant who's ever causing the problem can be fined with $25 per day up to $500. Failure to pay will result in a lien on the property if the owner is responsible, and if the tenant is responsible and fails to pay, the fine amount will be sent to collection. Bottom line is, this has gone to the planning commission, it's gone to the nuisance committee. Again, we're here as a result of comments made by our OES inspectors, and quite frankly, Habitat for Humanity. They have checked out some properties as well, and they reported to the city that they too observed a number of substandard conditions that which could be addressed. And this is the tool that we can use to address these situations. And again, it's not only to benefit the tenants, it's to benefit the landlords, the neighbors, the neighborhoods, and of course the city at large. There's a couple talking points here at the end, the frequency of inspections. There's a couple issues associated with that. if we wanted to actually increase the frequency of inspections, right now, city does not have the capacity to do that. We would have to hire additional staff to do that. We believe this is going to be a dynamic situation, a fluid situation. And as we make our way through the process, we'll determine if we need to hire additional staff. We believe right now that if we keep on the plans proposed, we won't have to hire additional staff, and it won't be a burden to staff. There's really not that comes to my mind any other talking points. But again, we recommend, the planning commission recommends, nuisance committee recommends, the landlords I've talked to recommend, the people that play golf would actually recommend. I actually went up to the golf course last week, and of course, this was right after the press release was issued, and I got an earful. And believe it or not, almost everybody was on board, including landlords. It protects our investment. And a lot of these people, the way their agreements are written, they don't get to inspect their properties as much as they'd like to. So with that, and put it in the hands of the council, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. If not, of course, we'll continue the meeting for the second reading and approval to the meeting of January 16th. Again, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Mr. Caldwell, Councilmember Wilson?